I decided to start here today because of a tweet that I got from some random progressive troll who is very, very upset that because of USAID cuts, northern Thailand now has a doctor shortage, and there are several villages in northern Thailand that do not have doctors. It actually, for those of you laughing about this, it's actually not a good thing. We don't talk enough about soft power. Hard power is the military. Soft power is American culture. People want to come to the United States because our movies used to, at least, make this country seem awesome. Now we got a Captain America who says America's not that great or something. Movie sucks, by the way. Not worth going to see, and not because of his statements. Just not a good movie. But soft power also does come in the form of the United States funds doctors in northern Thailand as opposed to China doing it. China's entire, was it brick and road or whatever strategy they call it, is about trying to supplant the United States around the world as a global leader. And I don't think most Americans appreciate that we benefit by being the leader of the world. You think, well, we do too much, we're overextended, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We should let China do it. What does it mean to us? Let some other country do it, except in terms of exchange rates, in terms of trade costs, in terms of a whole lot of things you can't feel. It actually undermines us to allow China to dominate the world instead of us. Your freedoms will erode if the Chinese are in charge. Think about this right now. The things that Hollywood doesn't want to put in TV and movies because of China's position now. Think about if they're the dominant force on planet Earth. The things you will, in theory, have freedom of speech, but the things you will not actually be allowed to say despite your freedom of speech. It's going to happen if China is in the lead. But it's all very abstract to people to talk in this way when right now they know that, well, we have a budget deficit and we're in debt and we got all these other problems. And I mean, it's like the people who think we can't take care of North Carolina and Ukraine at the same time. We actually can. But it's hard to explain to people that, yes, we actually have the money to do it because people are very visceral right now about these sorts of things. And by the way, I got to say, everybody on both sides is emotional. For example, yesterday I did a monologue, and I explained that for all of you people who are upset about Doge, it's actually Barack Obama you should be mad at because Barack Obama started the United States Digital Service, and all Donald Trump did was change it from the United States Digital Service to the United States Doge Service, but used the exact same precedent set by Barack Obama to do what he wants. The number of hysterics who hate Donald Trump from the right, not from the left, but from the right, saying, two wrongs don't make a right, Erickson. I can't believe you're justifying. I didn't say a single word about justifying what Doge is or is not doing. All I was pointing out is that all he's doing is using Barack Obama's precedent, and the Democrats will use it against us. But the number of emotional hysterics who don't even realize they're emotional. They think they're being rational, and they're not. They're emotional hysterics, all of them. I'm really tired of the people who can't recognize how emotional they're being, and that goes to the left as well. I am concerned about the funding cuts that go to aid programs around the world, from PEPFAR to doctors in Thailand, because it is an expansion of American soft power, and China will fill the void. But, I don't know how many of you have ever been in a plane crash. I have been in an actual plane crash when I was a kid. When the overhead compartments open and the masks come down to put on the masks, when you lose cabin pressure, as your plane is making a controlled descent as best it can, or a loss of pressure overall, you have to put your mask on first. In fact, they tell you, if you listen to the safety briefing on planes, put your mask on first before you help anyone else. If you don't put your mask on first, you have 3 to 5 seconds after those masks fall out of the compartment, as pressure's going down before you may pass out. So you got to put your mask on first, and the bag doesn't inflate, and you get panicked because the bag's not inflating. You think if air is flowing, I know they tell you, but you forget, and you're in a panic, and you're struggling to get your mask, and they come out, they're kind of tangled, and you got to put your mask on, and that bag, it doesn't inflate. You're like, is the air flowing through it? You got to trust that, yes, the air is flowing through it. Put your mask on first. You've got seconds to do this, and then turn to your children or to your loved ones who are struggling and help them. Because you will be no good and you will be no help if you try to help them before putting your own mask on. Because you'll be passed out. And for all of the emotional angst of the people out there who are upset about our cutting foreign aid, about our not funding doctors in Thailand, about our cutting resources to Africa and PEPFAR, most of these people did not give a single damn about American citizens who are their neighbors, who are working multiple jobs to keep ahead because Joe Biden's economy sucked. And in fact, these people insisted, because MSNBC and CNN told them so, that the economy was doing well. And only now in the Politico yesterday is there a huge story about how it turns out the statistics have been wrong for the past 4 years, and that the actual economic metrics of the country have reflected what people were saying. And yet the Democrats have been lecturing us for 4 years, telling us that no. Actually, the economy is very good, and the only reason you think it's bad is because of Fox News. No, it turns out the American people were right. They weren't being lied to by Donald Trump. They weren't being lied to by Fox News. They were actually concerned about the state of the American economy because the American economy has not been doing well. Multiple people, massive millions of people are having to work multiple jobs just to stay ahead. The number of Americans who are no longer getting ahead on the salary they're making that they were making 4 years ago has actually grown. More and more Americans are not able to make ends meet based on the single job they have because of the inflation that Joe Biden and the Democrats caused. And I just find it really appalling and hypocritical, the number of people who want to lecture the right on the doctors in Thailand, the farmers in Africa, and for 4 years they did not care one whit about their next door neighbor who was struggling to get by in this country. If you can't put your mask on first as the plane is going down, you're going to black out and everyone else is going to die. So let me ask you a question. Would you prefer we spend the time taking care of the Africans and the Thais and the Malaysians and God knows who else while we go bankrupt? Because then who's going to take care of them? The Chinese autocrats? People, in their rush to be partisans, are emotional and not thinking about this stuff. I support robust foreign aid. I, in my life, unlike many of you, and I don't mean that pejoratively, I just mean I grew up overseas. I've still been in more countries than states. I have seen the power of American foreign aid, building relations around the world, propping up good dictators for us, keeping out bad dictators who would be bad for us, helping citizens around the world. I have seen with my own eyes, wandering this planet, the number of people who want to come to America because they think America is the best. I understand what our soft power can do. But I also understand I can't help the charity I want to help if my personal finances are in the gutter. If I overspend my money, I can't help my kid pay for college. A couple of weeks ago, there were all sorts of people upset about J.D. Vance and J.D. Vance's statements about how we help others. But his point was right. You help your family first. And I don't think it's a coincidence that so many of the people who are so upset about our foreign aid don't have kids. The single progressives don't understand the way the world is supposed to work. They don't live that experience. They have no appreciation for the fact that I should not have to rely on Washington, D.C. or my state of Georgia to take care of my children. That's my responsibility. And once I've taken care of my family, then I will start giving my donations to other groups. I will tithe to my church, not out of charity per se, but because God tells me to tithe to my church. I'll take care of my church family and my home family. And then with the extra money, I'll take care of all the other charitable demands that I have. The idea that the United States should prioritize a village in Africa over a town in the United States offends me. I think we should and can do both. I think we can help Ukraine and Israel and North Carolina and California. We do actually have the money to do that. But we're not going to if we don't change things. And what we're finding with Doge, whether you like them or not, is yes, there is a bunch of waste in government. Waste that prior presidents also were willing to recognize and didn't actually do anything about, largely because of federal employee unions. So if you're gonna lecture me or anyone on the right about how without USAID, people in Africa and people in Asia and people in South Africa or South America, they're going to struggle without us, why don't you show a little bit of compassion for the people down the street from you who have been struggling under Joe Biden while you've been telling them not to believe Fox News, that actually who cares about their lived experience, the government was actually doing well and the economy was doing well. Why don't you show a little bit of compassion for the kids in public schools in this country who are failing, and all the Democratic politicians who went to private schools and send their kids to private schools don't want the poor black kid in the public school going to their white kid's private school? Why don't you show compassion for the kids in the failing schools? We keep sending them more money and the results keep getting worse. Spare me the lectures. If you spent 4 years under Joe Biden telling us the economy was fine, you can shut up now. If you spent 4 years defending Joe Biden's economy and telling Americans they were actually fine, you can shut up now. You never bothered to care about your neighbor's lived experience, but you care about some poor person in Africa who might not get some of our taxpayer dollars. You can shut up now. You're no longer in charge because you lost the trust of the American people. You lost their trust because you belittled them, you treated them poorly, you wrecked their economy and then had the audacity to tell them you had made the economy better. Americans are a good and charitable people, and you people on the left have lectured us about how we're systemically racist and bad. Americans actually want to help the poor people in Africa and the poor people in South America and the poor people in Asia, but they understand that when the plane has depressurized and is going down, you put your mask on first before you put anyone else's mask on, because otherwise you're going to pass out and be unable to help the other people. In the same way, fiscally, we have to put our house's fiscal health in order before we can help these other people, because otherwise not only will we not be able to help ourselves, we won't be able to help them either. So which is it? Would you rather us go bankrupt because you are too upset about Doge exposing waste, fraud, and abuse, and God forbid we fix it? Or do you actually want to fix our fiscal crisis here so that we can continue to help the rest of the world and lead?